The content in this magazine could contain references of topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering. Please honor yourself, inner knowing, and proceed with whatever help or guidance you feel is intuitively aligned. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine podcast and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Privilege of reconnecting with Velva Dawn, one of our amazing contributors. She is a transformational coach, healer, and author of Ancient Secrets of the Goddesses and Unwinding the Divine Masculine. She's also the founder of one of the Evolved Femme Programs and the host of the Wisdom Weaver podcast, where she shares very inspirational stories and a lot about authenticity. She also empowers others to harness energy and step into their fullest. Welcome, Velva Dawn.
Thank you so much for having me here again. It is a beautiful time of expansion to connect with you.
I'm so excited to connect with you today because our topic and theme for the September new moon issue is trusting in life. And you go into a really beautiful story about boundaries. So, your article is Rebuilding Trust, a Woman's Journey to Healing and Strength. And you walk us through this not only sacred, but courageous process of what it truly means for a woman to rebuild trust, especially after she's been broken by others or circumstances, or even by herself, if that trust has been broken, I should say. And you explore the nuances between the path of reclaiming yourself, maybe perhaps for the first time, but also reminding yourself that the healing begins with your intuition and forgiving yourself and following through on promises that we make to our soul. And so, for those who haven't read your article yet, maybe you can kind of recap a little bit about it so we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. So it's a delicate journey when we move from healing to strength. And I always say it's when we're at the depth of the valley that we really are gaining the most and the strongest lessons that we need in our life. And everyone has gone through this experience. And it's when we're down in the depths of the valley, sometimes it's hard to remember that this is where we're gaining the most wisdom. And I really love this quote by Hannah Gadsby. Her quote is, "There's nothing stronger than a broken woman who has rebuilt herself." So I always believe that when our heart is broken, it's breaking not apart, but it's expanding, and it's allowing the wisdom that we gain from those times to rebuild. So listening to your intuition, your gut always tells you exactly that there's more to life and there's better times coming. But sometimes when we're in that moment, it's hard to see the next step. So, the other part in rebuilding your trust with yourself is to keep promises to yourself. So, listening to your intuition and just having the courage to move to the next step and allowing yourself to listen inside. I always say that life is an inside job because we truly know what to do inside. It's sometimes we get confused looking and listening to those around us and not really truly sinking in to what we know inside. And the next step is truly forgiving yourself, like really giving yourself grace and gratitude in the times, because I always say that we are the hardest on ourselves, judging ourselves. And when we can let that go and understand that all of these steps are part of our expansion and allowing ourselves to sink into the greatness that is coming, it's a very delicate process.
Yeah. You were saying how we're really hard on ourselves and I can see that so much with myself. I'm probably one of my biggest critics, if you will. But also too, I think a lot of it falls within the constructs of this like rigid external armor that I created at one point to protect myself and how I needed to consciously choose over and over and over to release that armor. And so, for the woman who you have just invited to start to break down that armor, what are maybe some ways that she can remind herself when she puts that armor back on to maybe soften a little bit or relax it? Or ways that she can even recognize, she might not even recognize that she has the armor on.
Mhm. A lot of times we forget that our divine blueprint is already laid out in front of us. And we blame ourselves because of our childhood programming, whether it was the mother, grandmother, females in our life that we saw not necessarily sink into the softness, to the grace. And some ways that we can really sink into the grace is to slow down life. Just take a breath and just pause. I always say that when we pause, that takes the greatest courage because if you're programmed to always be doing, to receive, or to be, or to exist, we forget that we don't allow the space for receiving, for stillness, for inspiration to sink in. So slow down. Allow life to come to you rather than forcing it in the masculine way of moving forward and thinking that action always has to be present. I think that's the biggest thing that I've recognized in my life being in Aries is that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to sit on the beach and look at the ocean and just allow the inspiration to drop in into the pause and allow that to happen.
Yeah. For anyone who is like me, pause is very uncomfortable. The quiet is uncomfortable. My mind loves to go. I love to be busy and doing. That is how I quantify my success or I quantify how well I did that day, right? So if I'm not taking things off my to do list, I'm feeling the heaviness of feeling and I don't think about it as lazy, right? I just think about it as productive, and I love to be productive. And so, for anybody who's like me, it might be really hard to hear pause or sit in quiet or meditate or things like this. So, how can you help one access and recognize the beauty in the stillness, which I now recognize and actually crave more and more because once I do have stillness, I realize how much more productive I am when I go into the pause. But for somebody who hasn't been there, what maybe recommendations do you have?
So, the first recommendation that I would have is don't wait until your body creates a scenario through dis-ease or discomfort for you to have to learn to sit in stillness, which happens sometimes. So I would find a place that you like to be, especially in nature. And for me, it's the beach. I love to just put my chair on the beach, sink my toes in the sand, and listen to the waves, placing my hand on my heart and just connecting back to my soul and remembering. So, the advice that I would give is find somewhere that you love to go and just take little bits of time, just letting yourself sink into that space and being there. And then just feel how your body feels. Start to recognize all of the old programming that begins to unwind and just observe. Don't hang on to it. Don't try and figure it out. Just let it fall away and really embrace the softness that nature brings to you to allow your body to sink into that space. And it's not a one and done. It's a process. I always say we're like a rose, opening one petal at a time. And as the sunlight opens the rose, it just allows the softness to begin in stages.
Yes, I love that visualization. Inside the Sovereign community, you'll find more than a social platform. You'll find many private spaces led by women who walk the path with you, like Abby from Canada. Connect with her in her sacred space called Reclaimed and Rise. Step into the Maven Haven with Ebony from the UK, or join the Open Heart Collective with Bonnie from the US. These are just some of the soul sanctuaries curated by conscious women for conscious connection. Come find your space inside the Sovereign community today. So, we're going to move into our steps to our sovereign self. And we have something really exciting for our listeners today because all of this that we're talking about softness, pausing, tapping into our intuition revolves around kind of one topic, which is boundaries. And in your book, The Ancient Secrets of the Goddesses, you talk a lot about boundaries in a specific chapter, and you have a channeled message in that chapter for us today to take in and be an invitation to recognize what our boundaries maybe are right now and where they need to shift to. And so I'm going to hand it over to you for what needs to come through.
Perfect. Thank you. So, in chapter 23 in Ancient Secrets of the Goddesses, it's all about Ishtar, who is a Babylonian goddess who was invoked in ancient times to help with fertility, sexuality, nurturing, protection, and knowledge. Her energy is the essence of Venus's feminine energy. She's a strong feminine goddess, but has many qualities that one can call upon for needs that you might have. One of the hardest lessons that we learn while in our physical bodies upon earth is to honor our spirit and body first and foremost, before giving and pleasing others. We are born a true spirit of our Creator and then slowly learn our physical human ways by detaching from our Creator and being our own individual person. We learn that the human way is to please others first and make others happy, forgetting that we should not feel guilty for nurturing our souls first and filling up our cup as our priority. A soul cannot reach its full potential when half empty, for we are created to fill our body with light daily and hourly if need be. Please make yourself a priority every day by nurturing your soul to feel peace deep within while honoring the spirit. Boundaries can sometimes be a dirty word to some people. Some of us have too many, and some have none at all. We have come here on earth to obtain a happy medium, receiving and giving in equal parts. This can be tied to the obligation vibration that we have talked about previously in Work with Women. Boundaries are actually a very healthy energetic blueprint to have so that you can accomplish the goals and dreams of your life. Some areas that you may wish to have specific boundaries are in your career, your relationship with your spouse and friends, your children, your parents, your physical body, eating, and for any addictions you may have. Having self-nurturing boundaries allows us to set the bar of honor for our soul while feeling the peace within.
Yes, yes. And I think so often we're afraid to have boundaries. I remember one of our quotes on our socials page is true sovereignty is saying yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. And that is so hard for women. And you talked about how we're conditioned, right? And I think so many of us are breaking down that constructed reality that we used to have and accepting new ways of living and having choice again and not living with the previous boundaries. So, for any woman who perhaps is a little wary and afraid to start implementing boundaries for maybe fear of how a spouse might react or kids might react. I know one of our amazing contributors, Ashley, went on a cooking strike and the family had to cook for themselves for over a month. And it was absolutely hilarious to watch her set that boundary. But boy, did they learn that lesson, right? But that might be scary to somebody. So, what advice might you have for somebody who's ready to start setting boundaries, but maybe wants to take it a little bit slower than Ashley did?
Oh, that's good for her. What I would suggest is just take everything slowly. Like, ask yourself, what areas in my life do I feel that I'm saying yes out of obligation? I would start paying attention to how your solar plexus feels. If it constricts when you say yes, that's your body saying this is a no. So you can change your mind. That's the other thing I think we're conditioned is that we cannot change our minds. We cannot say no after we have said yes. So I would start small by listening to your body. Pay attention. Does your heart expand? Does it contract? And then start changing your mind to start activating those boundaries in your life. And it could be personally where you are wanting to put yourself first with exercise, with going for a walk, and just start small and see how you feel.
Yes, I love that physical check in. Thank you so much for this today. I'm super excited because not only do everyone get this gift, but you're going to be back for some more. So that's even more exciting. You can find her in our community.sovereign-magazine.com. All of her details are in the show notes, including her amazing book. And you can catch a card from her Oracle deck every day on our socials. We post them. So thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much. It's always an honor.
Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help you step into your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.